John Wall's beat all odds journey is truly remarkable. He came from absolutely nothing to nearly falling victim into a plethora of different crimes at a young age to absolutely changing his life for the better is what makes it one of the most inspirational journeys ever. But even after reaching his goal and becoming a perennial all-star, he's faced a series of emotional and physical struggles. But his grit and determination that his mother engraved into him is what allowed him to get to where he is today. This is the John Wall story. John Wall was born on September 6, 1990 in Raleigh, North Carolina, to mother Frances Pulley and father John Wall Sr. Now, 8 years prior to John being born, his father was charged with second-degree murder when he shot a woman in the head during a heated exchange. Then 3 weeks after John's first birthday, his father went on to rob a store at gunpoint and was charged with armed robbery, which resulted in Wall earlier in his childhood to only see his father in the penitentiary on Sundays. And by age 9, his father was released due to him being ill with liver cancer. But he did go on to die in a hotel bathroom when the family was on vacation. John even kept the Randy Moss jersey that his father wore before he died. The loss of his dad really got him angry and found himself putting his anger in the wrong things. And on top of that, he grew up in a neighborhood where guns, violence, and a whole lot of crime really took place in front of his front door. And that led John to really become immune and gravitate towards those type of things, especially since his mom was working multiple jobs trying to make ends meet. He was always getting into fights and arguments while also getting involved into small minor crimes, because by the age of just 13, he was breaking car windows and stealing cars, and was even getting ejected during most of his sports events. He just had a temper that he couldn't control. Other kids would call him Crazy J. He even had gunshots fired at him twice. And in one instance, John fired back. But by John's sophomore year, while attending Broughton High School in Raleigh, North Carolina, he tried out for the varsity basketball team and put on a good showing, but still didn't make the team. That was because of his bad attitude. So he decided to transfer into a close by school by the name of Word of God Christian Academy, and not much would change because he was still that same kid taking his anger out in the wrong way, cussing out teammates, just causing a lot of problems. His mother was doing everything she could possibly do to try to keep his head on right. Wall was so bad that she kicked him out of the house and sent him to a group home for a couple weeks. Nothing helped until she spent her last $200 on some basketball shoes for John to play in an AAU basketball tournament. She even had to shut down the electricity in her apartment to do so. And that right there triggered a whole mindset shift in him. He wanted to turn all those sacrifices that she made for him into her one day being able to live a comfortable life. He became a leader, a hard worker, and just a flat out better person. His change is what really allowed him to be ranked the 20th best prospect in the country as a junior. But he kept going and managed to work his way up into being the #1 prospect in his class by his senior season, after averaging 20 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. But even with all that new success coming his way, he still at times was falling back into his old ways. John and his friend was charged with breaking and entering into an abandoned home during his senior year, but he was able to dodge prison because it was his first recorded felony. But because he was one of the most well-rounded, talented two-way players in his class, it ultimately allowed him to choose wherever he wanted to go to college. And because he was a huge fan of Memphis head coach at the time, Coach Cal, who had previously went to the NCAA championship with Derrick Rose, John decided to join him, but at the University of Kentucky, as he had got the head coaching job there in 2009. So for his freshman season, he went on to display arguably one of the most iconic freshman seasons in college basketball history. He put up 17 points and 7 assists per game. He was the National Freshman of the Year, and he was a consensus first-team All-American while leading his team to a 29-2 record, but did end up losing in the Elite 8 to West Virginia, with John being the most talented collegiate player at the time. He winded up going first overall to the Washington Wizards. Wall started his rookie season off with a bang, as because in his first weeks, he was able to put up 2 triple-doubles, and for his rookie season, he led his team while averaging 16 points and 8 assists, while being able to finish second in Rookie of the Year voting behind Blake Griffin. John went on to have basically identical numbers during his second year, after he missed his first 33 games of the season with a knee injury. And the Wizards were 5-28 during that stretch, and went 24-25 when he returned. Now going into his third season, the Wizards were able to draft Bradley Beal, and together they were one of the best young backcourts in the NBA. Now their overall roster was average at best, and they did miss the playoffs again. But in his 4th season, he signed an $80 million extension, but he also just kept improving. He averaged a career high 19 points along with 9 assists. He really slowed the game down. He also improved the lacking piece in his game, which was the 3-point shot, as he shot 35% from deep. His significant improvement allowed him to be rewarded an All-Star. John also competed in the slam dunk contest, which he won. But what really mattered was that they made the playoffs, which was their first playoff win in 9 years, followed by them losing to the Pacers in the conference semifinals. In 2015, John was named an All-Star starter, and around this time, he was regarded as a top 5 point guard in the league. With his stellar two-way ability, he made the All-Defensive team. He also ditched a Wizards playoff record, putting up 17 assists in Game 2 of the series sweep against the Raptors. But he did go on to miss 3 games versus the Atlanta Hawks due to a hand injury. But in the offseason, he had procedures in both of his knees. But he returned and was playing at a high level, being able to put up 20 and 10 for that year, while becoming the franchise leader in assists throughout that process. But as a unit, the team failed to make the playoffs. In 2017, Wall was inducted into the University of Kentucky's Athletics Hall of Fame.
Thank you for being my mom. I know it's tough growing up with me and my 2 sisters. She said either you can go down the same road as your dad and your brothers, or you could be somebody very special and change our family's life.
So in 2017, with John Wall playing under new head coach Scott Brooks, this would be the height of his career, displaying career highs in scoring, shooting efficiency, assists, and steals. He even managed to put up a staggering career high 52 points versus the Magic. Now between his 5th and 7th seasons in the NBA, he became the only player in NBA history to average over 20 points and 10 assists per game, while throughout that time also becoming a 5-time All-Star. He finished the season off averaging 23 points, 11 assists, and 2 steals per game, which earned him to be on the All-NBA 3rd team. And it was looking like the Wizards could possibly finally do something in the playoffs. They were the 4th seed, and the duo between Beal and Wall were looking immaculate. John really put his team on his back with this outstanding performance in Game 6 of the first round versus the Atlanta Hawks, scoring 42 points, 8 assists, and 4 steals. In the second round, the Wizards faced off against Isaiah Thomas and the Boston Celtics. John hit one of, if not the biggest shot in his career, that forced a Game 7, in which they winded up losing as Wall underperformed. But still, it was a great season for him, and it was looking like he could possibly take that next step. The Wizards offered him a supermax. Wall agreed to a 4-year, $170 million contract extension. But in the 2018 season, he would constantly have knee problems, but still managed to average close to 20 points a game with 10 assists in 41 regular season games, and even made the All-Star team. But still, they managed to struggle getting over that hump in the playoffs. They went on to lose to the Raptors in 6 games in the first round. In 2019, John started the year off solid, being able to put up 20 points and 9 assists. But after a consistent pain in his left heel, he decided to have surgery and missed the rest of the season. And this is where things really went downhill, because John would actually develop an infection, followed by suffering a ruptured Achilles tendon when he slipped in his home. And with complications from his surgery and the Achilles injury, he didn't play the following year as well, which was the first year of his Supermax. The infection got so bad that it was a chance that his foot might get amputated. But things got even worse because his mom did end up getting sick and passed away. It was even a certain point in time to where he even thought about committing suicide. But he did find help and eventually recovered mentally and physically. But the front office decided to trade John to the Houston Rockets in exchange for Russell Westbrook. John Wall arrived prior to James Harden wanting out of Houston, which did happen. Wall averaged 20 points and 7 assists in 40 games, really proving that he still had it in him. Now, at the same time, the organization was in rebuild mode and was more so focusing on their young talent, which resulted in Wall sitting out the 21-22 season. Wall winded up sacrificing $6.5 million of his $47.4 million that was owed to him, and made his ultimate decision to sign with the Clippers. And he's in a way really revitalized his career. He's really showed flashes of his old self while being able to just play his game. John has been able to average so far 13 points to go along with 5 assists. And it's clear that he's going to be a very vital piece in the playoffs. John Wall really did the unthinkable, from being told countless times that he was going to be nothing and fall into the streets just like his father, is what made him go even harder. But he also knew that his natural born ability to play the game at a high level could possibly be a way out into not having to see his mother struggle anymore. But even when he was dealing with injuries while having suicidal thoughts after his mother passed away, he got the help that he needed and just remained strong on his faith.
And I was blessed to be able to play basketball, but my main thing was to keep striving to be a better person. That's one thing my mom always instilled in me, was it doesn't matter what nobody thinks you're a basketball player. Then you go to my mom, you know what I mean, words can't even explain what.
And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the John Wall story.